Part 1, The Last Night of WYKN 990. Youngstown, Ohio had become a city shaped like a bruise, purple, swollen, and tender where steel mills used to roar. On the southern end of the dying town, tucked between a rust-rotted train yard and the black water of Mill Creek, stood the squat, forgotten brick building that housed WYKN 990 AM, the WYK. A failed relic. A burning fuse. A radio station hours away from death. Inside, beneath humming fluorescent tubes and the lingering stink of stale cigarette smoke, Ethan Cole was having the worst night of his life, and it was only 10:30 p.m. 10:30 p.m., the warning. Ethan, Dale Harrigan rasped from his office doorway, waving him in. Dale's face looked carved from candle wax, drooping and glossy with sweat. He'd already been drinking. Ethan could smell the whiskey even from the hall. "You all right, old man?" Ethan muttered, flicking ash from his cigarette. "No," Dale said. "Sit." Ethan collapsed into the chair, the same chair with a crack in the vinyl that cut his thigh when he shifted wrong. He braced himself. Dale exhaled, a shaky sound like a dying radiator. "Corporate called me today." New York finalized the decision. He drummed his knuckles on the desk. 5 taps, always 5 taps, a habit he said he learned in Vietnam to keep himself awake during nighttime patrols. "They're switching us to full automation. AI voice. 24/7. Ethan felt something cold pull in his chest. "All of us?" he asked quietly. "Friday," Dale said. "You're all fired by Friday." Ethan's throat tightened. His job, this shitty, graveyard shift, low-budget radio gig, was the only thing stopping him from collapsing. From drinking until his liver dissolved. From thinking about the divorce papers still lying unsigned on his kitchen table. "So that's it?" Ethan whispered. "They're just killing us?" Dale looked away. "They kept me on. Salary cut. 40%. Ethan let out a laugh, broken, sharp. "Of course they did. I'm sorry, kid." Ethan nodded, stood up, walked down the hall, and entered the men's restroom. He stared at himself in the mirror, stubble, tired eyes, nicotine-stained fingers. Then he punched the mirror. It shattered with a single violent crack, splitting his reflection into jagged, bleeding fragments. Blood dripped down his wrist, bright and startling against the chipped sink. In the crackling, dying light, Ethan whispered to himself, "Maybe it's time. Maybe this city already killed me." But he wrapped his knuckles in paper towels, because he had a show to do, and pretending everything was fine was the only thing he'd ever been good at. 11 p.m., Riley's plan. The control room buzzed with energy, the wrong kind. Riley Voss, producer of WYKN's late-night show Graveyard Shift, was hunched over her laptop like a sorceress over a spellbook. When Ethan walked in, she didn't even glance up. "You hear about Friday?" she asked. He nodded. "Good," she said coldly. "Then you'll understand why tonight matters." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Riley, what the hell are you doing?" She spun the laptop toward him. A webpage flickered on the screen, Tor browser, .onion address, pitch black background, text written in a shimmering gray font, pulsing like a heartbeat. "How to summon the Mill Creek Strider. 100% success rate. Requires blood payment." Ethan felt his skin crawl. "Jesus, Riley." She cut him off. "We need a viral miracle. Something so insane that corporate can't shut us down without getting crucified by the internet." "So you, summoning, something?" "Already did," she said. Ethan blinked. "What?" Riley leaned forward, voice dropping to a whisper. 4 days ago. In the basement. There's an old broadcast MIC down there, 1950s, analog, died after a DJ killed himself in '87. Perfect object for a ritual. "Riley, what the hell is wrong with you?" She ignored him. "I cut my palm. Let a drop fall on the MIC. Then I spoke the opening line of the ritual." Ethan felt his stomach twist. "You're out of your mind." She finally looked up at him, eyes glittering with a feverish hunger. It answered me, Ethan. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but excitement. It said, a single life isn't enough. I need thousands of voices speaking my name in one night. Ethan stepped back. We're not doing this. Riley stood, almost vibrating. We are doing this. Because this is our last night. And I refuse to fade into obscurity while some algorithm takes my job. She grabbed her headset. At 11:30, we go live. 11:30 p.m., on air. The on-air sign glowed red above the studio door. Ethan sat behind the mic, throat raw, nicotine shaking his fingers. Riley counted down with a devil's smile. 3, 2, 1. Ethan's voice filled the dying city. Good evening, Youngstown. This is Ethan Cole on WYKN 990's Graveyard Shift. Tonight's topic, the Mill Creek Strider. Urban legend? Demon? Something older? Riley texted the intern Mace Vega, who was stuffing batteries and a GoPro into his backpack. He sent back a thumbs-up emoji, eager, unaware, disposable. The phone lines flashed. 1, 2, 8, all at once. Ethan pointed. Riley hit connect. A man's voice trembled through the speakers. I just drove past the old rail overpass. I swear I saw something. Tall. Like, 12 feet tall. Ethan frowned. 12 feet? That's a big claim, friend. Its hands almost brushed the guardrails. And it was smiling at me, I think. Riley mouthed, viral. Keep going. Another caller. A woman sobbing hysterically. It waved at me. I think it wanted me to stop the car. It whispered something. Derailment. Derailment. Ethan leaned closer. Where are you calling from? I'm a freight operator. I swapped shifts tonight. I should have been on the train that just crashed near Canfield Road. They said 7 dead. Oh God, it knew. Riley practically glowed. This is perfect. Ethan shot her a murderous look. Perfect? People were dying. But Riley had already thrown Mace a backpack and shoved him toward the door. Live report from the steel mill ruins, she said. If the Strider wants attention, let's give it everything. 12:45 a.m., the first crack. Mace jogged toward his beat-up hatchback, GoPro clipped to his chest, knife in his belt, excited like a kid on Halloween. This is my break, dude, he yelled back at Riley and Ethan. If I nail this, I'm getting verified. Ethan called after him, don't be stupid, Mace. You're not ready for. But the intern was gone, tires screeching into the dark. Ethan turned to Riley. He could die. Riley smirked. Everyone dies. 1:20 a.m., possession. A violent pounding shook the studio door. Ethan jumped. Riley froze. Dale peeked from his office. Someone's banging. The door burst open. Tito Morales, the delivery driver who always dropped beer to the station, stumbled in. But it wasn't Tito, not really. Tito's eyes were rolled pure white, like cracked eggs. His lips trembled, then peeled apart. More voices, he croaked, the sound wet and writhing. Feed me, more. Then he vomited a spray of thick black blood across the wall, spluttering the soundboard. Ethan gagged. Dale staggered back, gripping his chest. Tito, Jesus Christ! But Tito wasn't hearing them. His head jerked at unnatural angles. Something else was puppeting him. Dale grabbed Ethan's arm, whispering urgently. It was in my room. Right before he came in. It said if Mace goes into the old tunnels under the mill, everything will end tonight. Riley smirked, wiping blood from her cheek where Tito's spray had hit her. Good, she said. The more terrifying, the more viral. Ethan stared at her, horrified. "People are dying, Riley." "I told it I'd pay a price," she snapped back. "You think these things come for free?" 1:40 a.m., live from hell. Riley patched Mace's GoPro feed onto the main screen and pushed it to broadcast. Static. Then flickering video. Mace stood before the massive, rust-eaten skeleton of the Mill Creek Steel Complex. 3 homeless men followed behind him, waving at the camera drunkenly. "All right, Youngstown," Mace whispered, flashlight shaking in his hand. "We are entering the drainage tunnel under the old mill." The walls sweated. Pipes groaned overhead. Every step echoed like footsteps from something following behind them. Then, whispers. Hundreds of them. Not from walls. Not from the dark. From every abandoned loudspeaker hanging like corpses above. "No survivors, after tonight." Mace swallowed. "Riley, you hearing this?" Ethan tried to shout into the mic, "Mace, get out of there." "I'm serious, run." But Mace pressed forward. Something moved behind the group. A shape. A shadow. A tall, faceless silhouette stretching from floor to ceiling. One of the homeless men glanced back, and a long, black arm swept across him like a scythe. His body hit the wall. Blood exploded from his ears like 2 fountains. Mace screamed. Riley grinned. The video distorted into white static. Then silence. 1:55 a.m., the betrayal. Back in the studio, Riley suddenly staggered, grabbing her temples. Blood streamed from her eyes, nose, ears, all at once. She giggled, wild and unhinged. "It says, 1 more, it needs 1 more, she rasped, voice cracking like old vinyl. "I thought it wanted a homeless guy. But it wants me. The one who summoned it." Ethan lifted the mic toward her, fury boiling. "You hear that, Youngstown? Riley Voss just admitted she offered up this whole damn city to keep her show alive." Riley lunged at him. Her teeth sank into his neck, ripping a piece of flesh free. Ethan screamed. Dale fired a warning shot into the ceiling. Riley crouched, feral, blood smeared across her chin. 2:07 a.m., blackout. The lights in the entire city flickered, then failed. The studio plunged into total darkness. The only sound was Ethan gasping for breath and the faint drip of his blood on the linoleum. Then a voice, deep, lead, inhuman, came through every speaker, every radio, every phone on silent mode across the entire city. "Thank you for the broadcast. The Strider walks free now." There was a wet snap. Then Ethan's scream, cut abruptly short. The on-air light glowed red, burning like an omen. Part 2, the city that stopped breathing. Youngstown died at 2:07 a.m. Not with an explosion. Not with a siren. But with a whisper. When the Strider's voice spread across every phone, every radio, every cheap Bluetooth speaker in every rundown apartment, the city held its breath as one, and didn't let it go. The blackout spread like oil across water, covering the neighborhoods, mills, scrapyards, and half-collapsed steelworker duplexes left behind by better decades. Streetlights popped in rapid succession. Houses flickered, died. Traffic lights blinked once and turned black, leaving the roads empty and frozen like the veins of a corpse. Inside WYKN 990, the temperature dropped 20 degrees instantly. The on-air light burned red in the dark, a single demon eye. And beneath it, Ethan Cole's body twitched one last time. Something had torn him open from the inside. Bone fragments glistened on the carpet like broken chalk. His face was frozen mid-scream, throat carved out, lips stuck in a shape halfway between agony and a final plea for help that never arrived. A faint static still leaked from the studio speakers. Behind the control console, Riley Voss stood swaying, drenched in blood that wasn't hers. She pushed her hair back with a trembling hand, smearing crimson streaks across her forehead. Her nose was broken from Dale's earlier gunshot ricochet, the blood made her look like something feral. Her smile never fully faded. "This is what viral looks like," she whispered to Ethan's corpse. History will remember me. 2:10 a.m., the last two standing. From down the hall came the uneven shuffling of old boots. Dale Harrigan entered the doorway, his silhouette large and trembling. One hand clutched his Vietnam era sidearm, the other pressed against his chest like he was holding his heart inside by force. He stared at Ethan's remains. His jaw unclenched. He did not look surprised. He only looked tired. "God help us," he muttered. "God's not here tonight," Riley said softly. Her voice came out wrong, like two people speaking at once. Dale raised the gun. "Riley, move away from the MIC." She tilted her head, cracking her neck. "Or what? You'll shoot me?" "You're shaking like a leaf, old man." "I've shot people shaking harder than this," Dale growled. "In jungles you couldn't survive 10 minutes in." "But you didn't summon what I did," Riley replied. The studio speakers crackled with a low, pulsing hum, the same frequency that knocked out power citywide. Dale fired. The bullet shattered the microphone instead of hitting Riley, an inch to the left of where he aimed. The station filled with a metallic ring. Riley laughed. "You can't touch me," she sneered. "Not while it's listening through me." 2:13 a.m., underground. Miles away, buried deep beneath the rusted carcass of the steel mill, Mason Vega woke up in absolute darkness. His ears rang like someone had shoved a radio signal inside his skull and turned the volume to maximum. His GoPro was cracked. His flashlight was crushed. The tunnel smelled like wet iron and rotting leaves. He crawled, hands shaking uncontrollably. "Riley? Ethan, anyone?" His voice echoed back, distorted, elongated, wrong. He grabbed the wall, forcing himself up. His hand landed in something wet. He didn't want to know what it was. Then a whisper slid through the tunnel like a cold finger against his spine. "Mars." He froze. Another whisper, deeper, blending with distant metallic groans. "You filmed me. You showed me. You fed me. Do you know how many heard me?" Mace began to hyperventilate. Behind him, the corpse of one of the homeless men twitched. "Mace," it gurgled. "Run." Something in the dark dragged the corpse away, bones crunching like cardboard. Mace sprinted blindly. 2:15 a.m., corpse radio. Back in the station, the MIC Riley had broken reassembled itself. Not physically. Not visibly. But audibly. The studio feed hissed, then cleared, then hissed again, breathing like lungs inflating. Ethan's cracked rib cage rose an inch. Dale fired again, panicking. The bullet went straight through Ethan's torso, hitting nothing vital, because nothing vital was left. Riley approached the console, her pupils dilated until her eyes were entirely black. "You still don't understand," she whispered. "It's not possessing me." She placed her blood-slicked hands on the board. "It's broadcasting through me." The ON air lamp glowed brighter, pulsing. Riley cleared her throat. Her voice, when she spoke, was layered with the striders. "Good evening, America. Youngstown has been generous, but we need more listeners. More attention. More fear." Dale fired again. The bullet hit her shoulder, and Riley barely flinched. "You think pain matters?" she hissed. "I sold my pain 4 days ago." She slammed the button that enabled the transmitter override, the one Dale always warned Ethan never to touch unless there was a tornado. The signal strength spiked. WYKN's range expanded from 15 miles to 100 to 300. Straight into Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Akron, and half of Pennsylvania and West Virginia. Riley smiled, lips trembling. Now the whole Rust Belt will listen. 2:20 a.m., Dale's last stand. Dale lunged, tackling Riley into the rack of servers. The two slammed into metal casing, sparks spitting out. Riley's scream shifted mid-pitch, half human agony, half something else. Something vast. Dale wrestled for the gun. She clawed at his face, slicing open his cheek with fingernails that had somehow sharpened into points. He pressed the muzzle to her chest. "I may be a drunk," Dale snarled, "but I protect my people." Riley grinned, blood in her teeth. "You already failed them." He pulled the trigger. This time he didn't miss. Riley slumped forward, eyes fading from black to blue to nothing. The Strider's voice flickered, glitching like a dropped radio signal. Dale shoved her body aside and limped toward the control board, gasping, holding his chest. "Tito, the kid. Ethan. God forgive me." He reached for the power switches. Every console in the studio snapped to life at once, screens flickering with a stretched, distorted silhouette, too long legs, too many elbows, no face. A voice filled the room. "Turn it off." "And I turn you off?" Dale screamed as the speakers blew outward with a burst of force, shards of plastic and metal embedding in his face and throat like shrapnel. He fell backward, gurgling. The Strider spoke through every cracked speaker at once. "You've been broadcasting since 1952. I've been waiting since 1952. Finally. A station worth listening to." Dale choked on his own blood and went still. 2:28 a.m., escape attempt. Mace reached the surface by sheer instinct. He climbed a ladder, shoved aside a rusted maintenance grate, and burst into the open air behind the mill. But Youngstown was no safer. Sirens wailed in the distance. Car alarms blared. Dogs barked, then fell silent. The sky itself looked darker, as if clouds were forming into shapes that shouldn't exist. Mace grabbed his cracked phone. No signal. No power. No Wi-Fi. Except... a notification appeared. WYKN 990 AM, live stream now playing. His phone speaker whispered. "Ma. The audience wants an update. Don't disappoint us." He threw the phone, screaming. A silhouette stepped out from behind a dumpster. Tito's corpse. Eyes empty. Mouth hanging open. Arms dangling at unnatural angles. His chest rippled as if something inside was moving. "Tito!" Mace choked. The corpse spoke in the Strider's voice. "Go back to the station. You belong on the air. Your voice brings me home." Mace ran. The corpse followed, fast. 2:35 a.m., the voice that wouldn't die. Back inside WYKN, Ethan's body rose into a sitting position, bones cracking, blood dripping silently onto the carpet. His jaw hung at an unnatural angle. He grabbed the shredded microphone. And in Ethan's own voice, perfect, identical, impossibly intact, the Strider spoke. "This is Ethan Cole. And you're listening to the Graveyard Shift." His dead fingers adjusted the MIC gain. "Tonight, our topic is fear." His skull caved inward slightly, but the broadcast continued flawlessly. "Call in. Text in. Tell us what you see outside your window." Phones across the county turned on without permission. Every speaker in every car. Every smart TV. Every baby monitor. All of them tuned automatically to the same frequency. WYKN 990 AM. 2:40 a.m., Mace approaches the station. Mace sprinted toward the radio station, lungs burning, heart slamming against his ribs. The sky above the studio shimmered, bending in ways that made him nauseous. Shadow shapes skidded along rooftops. Streetlights flickered in rhythmic patterns, like a code. He reached the station steps and collapsed, clawing at the door, sobbing. Inside, the broadcast continued. Ethan's dead voice whispered. "Welcome back, Mace. We saved you a seat. Come finish the show." The door unlocked itself. On its own. Slowly. Silently. Inviting him in. Part 3, The Strider Wakes. The desert wind howled against the shattered windows as Ethan staggered out of the ruined substation, blood soaking the length of his arm. The moon hung low, fat, yellow, and wrong, like it had been peeled open. The ground beneath him trembled in slow, uneven pulses, as though something enormous exhaled beneath the crust. Behind him, the steel door groaned. Something scraped its way out. Ethan didn't wait. He ran. His boots struck sand, rock, rusted debris. Nothing made sense anymore. His breath came in knife-sharp bursts, chest tight, mind buzzing with the afterimage of the creature unfolding itself in the dark, a silhouette far too tall, far too thin, far too ancient. The strider was awake. And it was hungry. 1. The desert opens its eye. Half a mile away, the radio tower flickered back to life on its own, lights stuttering, static crackling in the open night. Ethan tripped toward it, panting, his vision shaking. A voice leaked from the busted handheld radio tied to his belt. Ethan. He froze. It was his brother's voice. Chris. Dead for 12 years. Keep going, Ethan whispered to himself. It's not him. It's not him. The radio hissed like something breathing. Turn around, Ethan. He didn't turn. Because he could hear it behind him, steps that weren't footsteps at all. More like tendons tightening. More like bones realigning. More like a marionette pulling itself upright. He felt the sand vibrate. Slow. Measured. Patient. 2. The tower that shouldn't be. The bottom of the radio tower shimmered in heat distortion even though the night was freezing. Ethan grabbed the first ladder rung, cold metal biting into his palm, and hauled himself up. Rung after rung. Every few steps he risked a glance down. At first he saw nothing. Then, 2 long shapes rising from the dark. Not legs, not arms, something between. The creature's silhouette stretched impossibly thin across the sand, its joints bending the wrong way as it angled its head up at him. There was no face, only the suggestion of one, like someone had erased the details with a wet cloth. Ethan climbed faster. Halfway up, the radio tower lights died. Everything went black. And then, horrifyingly, they flicked back on, but now the red aviation lights pulsed in the wrong rhythm, faster, more frantic, like a heartbeat in panic. Thump, 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 thump. The tower vibrated with each flash. Ethan reached the top platform, lungs burning. The metal cage around the beacon was warped from heat, like something had gripped it recently. The radio shrieked. Here. Then silence. 3. What lives between frequencies? Ethan dropped to his knees and yanked open the emergency equipment box. Inside he found only a half-dead flare gun, 2 cracked chemical lights, and a service tablet used for tower diagnostics. He grabbed the tablet. The screen lit up, but the interface was corrupted, icons bending, text jittering like it was alive. A system alert blinked repeatedly. Signal breach detected. Source, unknown. The tower began streaming a frequency Ethan had never seen before, low, subharmonic, vibrating directly in his bones. And mixed inside it. A whisper. Not human. But trying to be. Found you. Ethan choked on a sob. His brother's voice again. Stop it, he snarled at the tablet. Stop using his voice. He hurled the device off the platform. It hit the rocks below and shattered. For a moment, everything was quiet. And then the tower lurched. Something was climbing it. Fast. Metal groaned as weight shifted below him, joints screeching under tension. Ethan scrambled to the opposite side of the platform and fired the flare gun straight down. Boom! The flare exploded in red fire, lighting the entire tower in blood. And there it was. Clinging to the steel like an insect. Spine arched. Limbs spread. Mouthless face tilted up toward him. Ethan felt his throat close. The strider didn't even flinch at the flare's light. It only climbed faster. 4. A fall meant to kill. The creature reached the top. Ethan fired the flare again, point blank. The strider caught it. Its long, Finger-like digits closed around the burning projectile, absorbing the fire instead of being burned by it. The flame went out. Ethan's hope with it. The creature lunged. Ethan dove to the side, grabbing a loose support cable as the platform ripped open under the Strider's impact. Metal tore like fabric. Bolts screamed. The entire upper structure tilted violently. Ethan fell, caught the swinging cable, and crashed against the tower's lower frame, ribs snapping. He screamed but held on. Above, the Strider leaned over the ruined platform, its featureless head crooked in a disturbingly curious angle, watching him dangle like prey. The cable snapped. Ethan hit the ground hard. Dust billowed. Pain exploded across his chest. He tried to crawl, but shadows stretched over him as the Strider descended the tower in smooth, impossible movements. It was toying with him now. 5. The station beneath the sand. Ethan staggered to his feet and stumbled across the dunes toward the old communications bunker, a relic from before the desert consumed the region. Its rusted blast door was half buried in sand, but he managed to force it open and threw himself inside. The bunker lights flickered weakly. The air smelled like rot. Old equipment sat silent, consoles, tape machines, forgotten power units. But one console was on. And humming. Ethan approached it, chest aching. The screen displayed a single line of text. The Strider cannot enter the quiet. Below it, a button glowed faintly. Initiate silence field. Ethan hovered his finger over it. Behind him, the bunker door buckled once. Twice. Sand shook loose from the ceiling. The Strider had found him. Ethan slammed the button. The lights died instantly. Then, a low, deep vibration rolled through the bunker like a wave passing through heavy stone. The world fell completely silent. Not quiet. Silent. Total absence of sound. Ethan couldn't hear his own breath. Couldn't hear his heartbeat. Couldn't hear the pounding on the bunker door, even though the metal visibly dented inward. The Strider's limbs slipped through the crack. But then, stopped. Frozen mid-thrust, as if reality had paused around its joints. Ethan stared at it, shaking. The silence field worked. The Strider could not move inside it. But the bunker walls began to fracture. The field wasn't strong enough to hold the thing for long. 6. The cost of becoming the frequency. The console screen flickered back on, new text forming. The field requires a human anchor. Anchor equals transmitter. Transmitter will not survive. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. The meaning was simple. To stop the Strider, someone had to merge with the silence field's harmonic core. Fuse themselves into it. Become its frequency. A human sacrifice. He pressed a trembling hand to the screen. No, 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 no. The Strider twitched, just slightly. The field was weakening. Another line appeared on the monitor. Do you accept? WYKN. Ethan closed his eyes. Chris's voice, real or not, whispered in his head. Don't die again, Ethan. He exhaled. Sorry, Chris. He pressed Y. 7. The quiet man. The floor opened beneath the console, revealing a pulsing spherical chamber humming with invisible force. Ethan stumbled into it. The hum crawled up his spine, into his skull. The bunker door tore open. The Strider forced its way inside. Ethan screamed through silence as the chamber closed around him. Light flared, blinding white. Then everything compressed. His bones. His thoughts. His memories. His voice. All dissolving into a low, steady tone. A tone the Strider recoiled from. A tone that pushed it back. A tone that erased it. The creature collapsed inward like shadow in sunlight, folding, shrinking, collapsing until it vanished into nothing. Ethan felt himself stretching into the walls, into the circuits, into the concrete. He was the silence field now. He was the barrier. He was the